Wrestling fans far and wide, wrestling fans fat and tall, wrestling fans short and fat, wrestling fans however you're shaped. This is the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and this is the 2024 We Can't Wrestle podcast, Hall of Shame. Nate and Aaron Maxon
And
here with you.
hello. And that's the great thing about wrestling fans. They come in all shapes and sizes, all demographics,
Yes.
all
Some of,
genders, all of it.
and there are those. Normally, you love the diversity of the wrestling fan. There are those 2% of wrestling fans that we should induct into the Hall of Shame, like
Yeah.
the guys that don't bathe before they go to an arena for a show, or
Yeah. All wrestling fans, all good wrestling fans, all agree that the neck beards and the um hugging too close with a female wrestler fans. They're all the ones we hate. Those are the two we hate the most.
so.
I guess. I don't know.
This is, of course, we indict the worst of the worst into the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Fame every single year. Should I go through, just to start quickly, the extensive list
Yes, because it's
of,
an amazing list.
of those already inducted the past 4 years in the Hall of Shame? There have been many, some years there's 5 of us, some years there's 2 of us. So some years have had more indictees than in the past, or than other years, I should say. So here we go. I love that the first people inducted into the Hall of Shame are the Ding Dongs. They were the very first indictees. Then the Blood Runs Cold gimmick, Public Enemy, Jimmy Valiant, the Orton Rey Mysterio angle using Eddie Guerrero's passing, PN News, the Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view, the Vince Stephanie angle from 2004, the Black Scorpion, Vince Russo, the New Rockers, RoboCop in WCW, ICP, Dave Sullivan, the entire TNA promotion, Brutus Beefcake's gimmicks, the WWF Niagara Falls, Judy Bagwell, Kurt Angle losing to Baron Corbin in his final match, Stone Cold Steve Austin's heel run, the Boneyard match, Mordecai, the Dungeon of Doom, the Corporate Ministry, Great Khali, Saudi Arabia pay-per-views, the Chamber of Horrors, Rocco the Puppet, XPW, the Val Venus Choppy Yo Pee angle. That's how I have it written down, Choppy Yo Pee. Zack Ryder.
Really
I don't
said
know
it.
why. I think Archie just inducted Zack Ryder because he doesn't like him.
Yeah, he mooched him on some money or something.
Dick Kicks. Remember that shit. Virgil.
Yeah.
Max Payne. The Katie Vick angle. Jim Herd. The Eye for an Eye match with Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. Buck Zumoff. Fritz Von Erich. The AEW production team. Cinematic matches. Mark Madden. The Mysterio family Seth Rollins feud. The WBF. The Renegade. Bubba the Love Sponge. The Sting 1998 heel turn. Who. PG-13. The WCW mini movies. Farouk as a gladiator. Roadblock. Tux Newman. That was a Chad Austin indictee.
Yes.
Disco Inferno. Reckless Goldberg. Angelo Mosca Jr. The Goon. Mass Transit. Handsome Stranger. Linda McMahon. Rod Trongard. I can't say his name without doing my impersonation. Hardbody Harrison. James Ellsworth. Tony Khan. Old Vince McMahon. No Limit Soldiers. The Chaz as a wife beater angle during the Attitude Era. Loch Ness. The artist formerly known as Prince Iakea. Orange Cassidy. The Mimosa match from AEW. Ludwig Borga. I don't know why anybody indicted Ludwig Borga. Probably because he was a bastard. Is that why? Is that why he got indicted?
Yeah, he was a Nazi. Fuck him.
Vince taking a stunner at the last time he was at WrestleMania. That terrible stunner he took. The Tony Schiavone Halloween Havoc Open, where he looks like a pedophile. The Melanie Pillman interview, capitalizing or trying to capitalize on the death of Brian. The
That's mine.
XWF. Deadpool, which I think that was an AEW thing. Some of these guys indict things that I'm not particularly even sure what it is because I don't really watch AEW.
Look, Mark's here.
And Hit Row was an indictee last week.
Yes,
Hey, Mark Brew.
What's up, buddy?
Is Deadpool? We're already recording. I was just going through the extensive list of those that have already been indicted into the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Shame.
I remember I know what Deadpool is.
Oh, okay.
Deadpool was like Raven, Vampiro, and the ICP, right?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. There's sometimes I look at. There's sometimes I was just telling Aaron, Mark. Sometimes I look at the list, and maybe you or Archie or somebody else has indicted something from AEW, and I don't really watch AEW, so I see it on my page, but I'm like, I really don't actually know what this is.
Are you talking about the Marina Shafir promo?
Yes.
Bro, that was terrible.
There's only one that now I have a list of 6. I forgot Tony Khan already went in, and I tried to indict him this month or this year, and I forgot he was already in. So he's out.
Remember his acceptance speech. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I was gonna have him be inducted by that Jesse Sulame guy or whatever that said he got beat up by a bunch of Trump haters and he made some shit up. I was gonna indict him because of him saying I was in fear for my life and he wasn't even there. But anyway, there's only been ever one indictment in our Hall of Shame that I don't 100% agree with.
Okay.
Do you guys want to know what it is?
Sure. There's a couple that I don't agree with, but
it's Steve's heel run. I love Steve's heel run. It's so funny.
Steve Austin's heel run. I don't know who indicted it. There are parts of it that are, to me, there's parts of it that are good and parts of it that aren't. Like, I don't know. It's not fantastic, but I don't think I indicted it into the Hall of Shame because I don't absolutely hate it.
I don't remember who, but I like that one. But we're talking about 2024. The 2024 indictments.
And since this is your most wonderful time of the year, Aaron, we're gonna let you go first.
All right. Like I said, I gotta scratch off the Khan because I forgot he was already in. So my first indictment is Firebreaker Chip.
Oof.
Do any of you guys remember Firebreaker Chip?
Yes, he also teamed with, who was the guy he teamed with?
Chris Champion.
Yes, Chris Champion. Chris Champion and Firebreaker Chip, the Patriots.
They were the Patriots. I didn't indict I didn't indict Chris Champion just because he actually wasn't too bad in the ring and had a good build and had good size. And I think if he wouldn't have been saddled with what they gave him, he might have been a mediocre star or whatever. But Firebreaker Chip was terrible. He was, I think, shorter than me. And I'm trying to be descriptive of him if people don't know what he was, but he was built like a short gorilla and moved like one. He was terrible in the fucking ring. And he looked like a monkey, like in his face, and everything about him just sucked. And they put that stupid fucking fire helmet on him. It said like WCW. Like, if you people haven't seen Firebreaker Chip,
Should have been
do it
Firebreaker.
to yourself. Do yourself a favor and look him up because he's a fucking joke. He was terrible.
Yeah, he was not good. And like you said, Chris Champion was a decent wrestler. But they were not a great tag team. And it was literally they were just billed as the WCW Patriots. I think were they during the Hurt era?
Yeah, and I think
sometimes I get my eras screwed
they
up.
were a Herd era deal and a little bit of a holdover. Like they went into like 93 and like by 94 they were done. But it's like Firebreaker Chip was I figured out a better way to describe him. He was a very like if you look at Joey Maggs, he was like a very muscular looking Joey Maggs without the talent.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I assume Chris Champion indicted him. You know, he made an appearance and indicted his friend into the Hall of Shame.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to go next?
Like he picked him up so he could talk into the mic.
All right, our next indictee is being indicted by one of our former indictees. He's being indicted by the great Khali with Ranjan Singh, whom I indicted last year. And it is Muhammad Hassan.
Muhammad Hassan.
This should have never been done in the day and age that it was done in. And
nope, sorry.
Everybody that tried to do it after the Sheik failed miserably.
Yeah, they were trying to capitalize on obviously on
9/11
tensions because of 9/11 and the war in Iraq and all that stuff, and trying to capitalize on the fact that generally Americans are bigots, and and I think that it could have worked if it was done differently. I don't know how to put it, but it could have worked. But the way he was presented was not presented in a way that someone should have been presented in 2000. I think it was like 2005 when he was there.
Right.
And then they really did him in with that angle that they had him do with the Undertaker.
What I was gonna say was, I know we like indict these people or whatever, but I also want the listeners to realize that we're not indicting. Well, in some of it we are, but in some of it we're not indicting the talent. Some of these we're indicting the gimmick.
Yeah,
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
definitely the gimmick because Muhammad was actually a decent wrestler.
And he was, and the gimmick, I think, when it first started, could have worked if they wouldn't have went with like Nate said, like the Undertaker, like terrorist beheading thing. Like if they would have just had him be like a Muslim millionaire type
well,
thing.
no. If they would have done what they did in the beginning, in the very beginning of it, it was, I'm an American too, you racists. You know what I mean? That's what it was at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
and then they went into too much of like the cartoony Iron Sheik kind of shit that doesn't work in the modern era.
That's what I was trying to get at, where it's like he wasn't like, you know, when I say like, I guess I should have said like Muslim American millionaire type gimmick, that probably would have worked. But when they went to the terrorist aspect of it, it didn't work, and they should have never done it.
Yes, and like Aaron said, we aren't always inducting the person, we're inducting the gimmick. Or in some cases, we are inducting the person, like Fritz von Erich got inducted because he was a bastard. So
yeah. But that dude, I forget his real name. It was in it was like right on the tip of my tongue. But the guy was a good worker, and he looked like $1 million. But they didn't do him any favors with the gimmick they gave him.
Well, a couple of my indictees this year, I can't believe that they haven't been indicted yet. Like I had a couple of things, and I had to go back and look through the list. I was like, I got to make sure we have not put these people into the Hall of Shame yet. And one of them is my first indictee this year. They are being indicted just for fun, because he shouldn't have never been with them anyway, but it's fun to have him indict them. They're being indicted by the 7-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Harley Race. I've talked about him a lot lately on our shows, some of our shows.
Yeah, I know who it is.
And I can't believe I've never put them in the Hall of Shame yet. It is those big fat piggies, the Awesome Kongs.
I knew it was when you said Harley Manison.
Waddling down to the ring with their furry boots and their big fat asses and their big titties and their hog noses. The craziest thing, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. One of the stupidest things about them is their names. Their tag team name is the Awesome Kongs. One of them is King and the other is Awesome. Your tag team name can't be the name of one of the guys. Like I told Aaron, Mark, I was like, it's like, here's Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Jim the Anvil Neidharts.
Yeah, that's
it just doesn't work. All right, boys, any comments on these big fat fucks, the Awesome Kongs?
They were fucking horrible. It's two human beings that I know we talk about, like if you see a fat person, you're like, oh, look at that fucking pig over there. These guys actually look like pigs. Like
they embodied the gimmick.
Yeah, they were actual human pigs, and they did nothing great at all. And in the sport of professional wrestling, you could almost get away with being fat and still being considered an athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know I shit on like Mike Shaw a lot or whatever, just because I wasn't a big fan of him. But I'll never take away the fact that that guy was an athlete, and he was a better athlete than me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But or who else am I trying to think of that was a big fat guy that was still a fucking athlete? Abdullah the Butcher, John Tenta. These were all Yokozuna. These are all heavy on the hoof motherfuckers, and they could still go, and they're still more athletic than me. But I can pretty much say that I'm probably a better athlete than Awesome and King Kong.
Yeah, I think if Awesome and King, I think I am too, because I'm pretty sure if Awesome and King Kong had to unload one of my trucks at work, they would die while they were unloading a truck.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta get those break.
Try to get those guys in 87-degree weather and see what happens.
Well, I looked them up on the Wikipedia just because I wanted to see if they were still alive. One of them is actually still alive.
The other one surpassed to obesity.
Well, listen to this. Awesome Kong, real name Dwayne McCullough, died from a massive heart attack on November 17th, 2012.
Why'd you have to do that right when I went to drink? Of course it was massive.
Massive.
And that dude took a dump. It was massive. Imagine the heart attack.
Ooh, man, he looked like he could break a shitter.
He was probably eating a package of bar-ass hot dogs when it happened.
Oh, God. All right. Aaron, you're up again now.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Yes.
My next person to indict is Horace Hogan.
All right, Horace Hogan. Go ahead. It's your indictee, so you can.
He is my indictee, and I will say this: I'm not indicting him because he got into the business because of who his relation was, like his family member. Because I hate when people try to say that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that bugs me a lot when people are, oh, well, that guy only got in the business because his dad was this guy or his uncle was this guy. I'm indicting Horace Hogan because of the fact that he was fucking terrible. And his promos sucked, his work sucked. I never saw him do anything that was good at all. And I don't think he contributed anything good to the business.
He also had a weird look. I don't know what it is, like his body and stuff. His weird look.
Yeah. I don't enjoy Horace Hogan at all. And like I even watched his shit like when he was in Japan and was like doing the hardcore stuff, and I didn't even like it there. Like it's like if you can't even gain my interest in a garbage match in Japan, I have no use for you.
Anything to comment on Horace Hogan, Mark?
They should have just called him Jim Bob Cooter. He had the look.
JBC. They get even did JBC.
Yeah, like I don't know. To me, he just looked like some hillbilly that they were trying to get over with just because he had the last name Hogan.
Yeah, and I'll agree with all of your sentiments, guys. The guy wasn't over with me either. And I mean,
remember when we were kids that one year and we were flipping through the channels and we saw Van Hammer go DD Page, and we were like,
yes.
nope, and we flipped back to Raw. That's like I literally did that streaming, watching the Monday Night Wars. I was like, I saw Horace Hogan. I was like, I'm gonna watch Smoky Mountain. Off for a minute because I don't even want
to see somebody that looks like they should have a mullet. It's gonna be Smoky Mountain.
Like this dude was in a match that I watched recently, and he actually made my list because I've just been watching chronologically 98, like the 98 Monday Night Wars, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been watching it. He was in a match with Perry Saturn and Raven as a tag team, and his partner was Chris Kanyon. So in this fucking match, it's Perry Saturn, Chris Kanyon, and Raven. And then Horace Hogan's in it. And I watched it and I was like, I can't enjoy this fucking match. Like, he wasn't even good with those three guys.
I was going to say, one of these things is not like the others.
Yeah, it's like, this dude ruined this fucking thing. And these three guys are fucking masters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's a Bruce Beefcake, in my opinion. Like, he can ruin something that should be really fucking good. Just with his fucking existence.
Well, your existence ruined many a match, Horace Hogan. And welcome to the 2024 class of the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Shame, Mark Brew.
He was indicted by Brutus Beefcake.
Okay. What do that could?
Okay.
What do that could? That do could ruin a fucking match. And I did the same goddamn thing, brother. Hall of Shame.
So, my next indictment is going to be indicted by Uncle Howdy. And it's going to be Bill Goldberg going over on The Fiend. Because the match sucked, and that character was supposed to be a superhuman character, and it made him look weak for no fucking reason. And Bray couldn't recover from that shit.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. Like, if you have a character like the Fiend, supernatural, people can shit on it if they want to. I know there's you wrestling snobs that shit on it. I was a big Bray Wyatt fan. I enjoyed the Fiend. Supernatural shit in wrestling doesn't bother me. I grew up an Undertaker fan. But anyway, if you're going to have a character like the Fiend, the first thing you do is you don't put him in the fucking ring with Goldberg. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you avoid any booking errors. The fact that they booked the fucking match should be indicted into the Hall of Shame.
I thought you were just gonna say Goldberg.
Nah. We've already indicted Reckless Goldberg, but he should have never went over on the Fiend. Never.
Yes. And like I said, I'll go a step further and say the match should have never been booked in the first place. I agree with you.
Yeah, like that. To me, you got this supernatural character, and it's getting fucking hella eyes on your product, and then you have him lose to a fucking over the heel fucking Goldberg.
Yes.
You know, it's like, come on, guy. Even fucking Ray Charles could see that was a bad idea.
Georgia.
I don't know if I've seen the match because I don't want to seem like a bad wrestling fan, but there was a time frame in there between like when COVID hit to probably like a year ago where I was just like checked out or whatever. But it wasn't a cartoon match, right?
No,
if I remember
it was
right.
Super Showdown 2020.
Yeah, it was one of the Saudi shows.
Yep.
No, I didn't watch that at all. But it doesn't make, like, in my mind, if I was like being a contributor to anything that had to do with the storytelling of it, I'd be like, no, don't do that. So I understand it. I don't want to shit on Goldberg because I know a lot of people like him or whatever, but Goldberg as a whole, I think, should be in the Hall of Shame. I didn't put him in this year, but anyway, we'll move on.
Well, my next indictment, I guess, because I'm not necessarily indicting the people involved. I'm kind of indicting the story and the gimmick, because I like all the people involved in the story, but the story is stupid and silly and goofy. And it is the entire, I'm going to call it a saga, but it's more like a popcorn fart. It is the entire Rockabilly saga in the WWF. Like,
oh yeah, that was rough.
Like,
man.
it was very rough. It was very rough. And I know that there are stories behind the scenes where people like to say that Disco Inferno was supposed to come in and be Honky Tonk Man's guy, and I don't think that was ever even actually going to happen. I think that was just a story the sheets picked up. But yeah, first, okay, so
we're trying to make sense of it.
Honky Tonk Man tries to recruit Jesse James. Jesse James breaks his heirloom. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody in this is great because Honky Tonk Man, that's a heirloom and everything. I mean, everybody's good that's in it.
Yeah, Jesse's great. Bad. Billy's great. Honky's great. But they were trying to do that shit in a time where that was not gonna get fucking over.
Well, and then it's the even worse part about it is, so Jesse James breaks the guitar. The next week, Honky Tonk Man offers the protege ship or whatever to Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn fucks his shit up and like punches him and stuff. So 2 weeks later, Jesse James is going to have a match with fucking Honky Tonk Man's protege, and then it's just Billy Gunn. Like, Billy Gunn just punched him in the face last week. So that didn't make any sense. He goes over that night, but then the next night you're trying to establish this heel, and Jesse James beats Rockabilly, and I don't know. The whole thing was a fucking popcorn fart. It was terrible. And again, that's not anything on the performers. That is all on the booking of it. But it was so bad.
Yeah, and it was a terrible angle to try to get over in '97.
Yeah.
It went totally against the grain of what they were trying to do, and it was a holdover. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
think it was a it might sound stupid when I say this, but I think that was a it was like a Vince angle, you know, where he thought like, oh, this is what the people want to see. The
Yeah.
people want to see or whatever. But then I'll give Vince credit where he saw it and then was like, this angle sucks, but these guys work really good together because Vince came up with the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah.
So it bore out of it moved something into a great angle, but the angle itself was fucking terrible. You're right.
It
I
sucks.
just,
Go
I
ahead,
just
Mark.
don't know what the fuck the Honky Tonk Man needed a sidekick for.
Because he was trying to find the next greatest intercontinental champion.
Well, I mean,
And you couldn't get Rocky Maivia because he was in the back. He was upset stomach.
then that
He
would
was
just
upset stomach.
then that would just make him more heel if he was like, there is not another greater intercontinental champion.
Yeah, well, anything would have made this better. Aaron, you're next.
My next is a guy that I think's a human piece of shit, and it's Chris Cruz.
Chris Cruz. Indicted into the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Shame, and of course you have to elaborate as to why.
He was a terrible commentator, for one. And two, he's a guy that he's a internet troll, in my opinion. And he, like, I don't have his tweets and his posts and all this shit in front of me, but he's just a terrible human being. Like, somebody will die and he'll just shit on him, or somebody will have something happen and he just shits on them. And if any of you guys want to look up any of the shit this guy's ever said or posted or whatever, he's a malcontent.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate the guy. And I hope when he dies, a lot of people just say terrible things about him. Because that's what he does.
When you said malcontent, I thought nincompoop.
Yeah, he's a nincompoop. I just watched that, Nate. I just watched that TNT.
Crazy loon.
Nincompoop. Stupid loon. Nincompoop.
He said
I
crazy
literally just
crazy loon.
I literally just watched that TNT with Paul Orndorff and
Tony Atlas.
Yeah. But yeah, just Chris Cruz is just a horrible person. And you wouldn't think of it like looking at the guy in the 90s because you just see him as this little Mr. Ernst looking business guy or whatever. But he's just a bad person, and I don't like him at all. And if people don't understand what I'm saying, just look up things that he says about people. And I think he's a piece of shit. Fuck Chris Cruz.
Mark, anything you have to say about Chris Cruz?
I've never heard the name until Aaron just said that.
He was a He was a third string commentator in WCW in the early 90s. Yeah. I mean, nothing, no career to write home about. And like Aaron said, he does a lot of tasteless stuff on the internet when it comes to people being sick or people dying or whatever. So, Chris Cruz, welcome to the We Can't Wrestle podcast, Hall of Shame. Mark Brew, you're next.
My next indictee is going to be inducted by, we'll just put Trick Williams as the one that's gonna indict him, but it's gonna be Triple H and Booker T's match at WrestleMania 19.
So not the match, but the build-up, right?
Yeah, the fact that Triple H even went over on Booker on that, because Booker was he was a fucking red hot babyface at the time, and it literally for the next year it just killed the whole Booker thing.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It killed Booker's momentum.
Right.
I agree that he should have went over. I remember watching WrestleMania 19. Hunter pins him, and I was like, well, that's bullshit. I was pissed. Booker should have went over. Hunter at that point, the way Hunter as a heel at that point was Teflon, so he can lose to anybody and get his heat back the next night.
Yeah, and it was and they had Hunter pretty much borderline racist in that whole thing.
Yeah. He literally said, "People like you."
Yeah.
And then, of course, they try to fucking backpedal and say, well, that's not what we meant. We meant the common man or whatever. Well, yeah, that's not what you said.
Exactly. Now you realize that sounded fucked up.
Right. But yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
I just feel like Booker should have went over. He was on a heater, and they literally just put a screeching halt to his momentum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he didn't honestly. I mean, yeah, he had some runs with the IC belt, and obviously him and Goldust were super fucking entertaining as a team, but he didn't actually wholeheartedly recover from that until the King Booker gimmick.
Right.
I agree with it. It was a Hunter and Booker was a bad situation. They can say what they want to say. Like Nate said, and you guys and Mark said, that you can say what you want to say about it, but they race baited off of that, and in my opinion, in wrestling, that's something that it's just you don't need that in wrestling. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, and I mean, if you're gonna have Hunter go over on him, don't have it clean. Have him use some low down dirty tactic or something to actually get the win.
Yeah. Yep. Triple H, Booker T, WrestleMania 19, going into the Hall of Shame.
Wrestling's like what I try to tell people when they walk into a bar. It's like, hey, we're not going to talk about politics, race, or religion. Just have fun in here.
And that's true. I mean, back in the day, like during the territories and stuff, I see why they did some of that stuff. Like, obviously, if Roddy Piper is going to Puerto Rico, he's going to make fun of the Puerto Ricans, or the guy that's wrestling Bruno in New York is going to say something about Italians or whatever to get some heat. That was back in the day. Now we're a much more not caught up in our own heritage society, and it's just, to me, like you said, it's from fucking the national expansion on, it's cheapest of heat.
Yeah, there's a reason that Piper never said gnarly Brussels after 84. Yeah. We don't need to do that.
Well, speaking of Roddy Piper, he is involved in my next indictment. Yes, Roddy Piper is going to find himself in our Hall of Shame. Although he is one of the greats of all time, I have to say anything any time that there was anything between Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper in WCW was fucking terrible.
Yes.
Anything. All their finishes stunk. I mean, it all boiled down to politics and stuff, but the angles were stupid. The finishes were stupid. It's Hogan and Piper, and WCW always fucked it up. To me, my opinion.
Okay, I'll give you that, but there's only one. I don't know if the right word is caveat. But there's one thing I'll say about that. There's one thing I did like about him and Hogan in WCW. And it was when he first showed up and they had their first match, and Hogan was a heel in it. I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. But the finish was stupid. The finish was convoluted. So
The
even that
finish
was messed
stupid.
up.
But I liked Hogan being like backpedaling from Piper. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you that. The Halloween Havoc, when he first came in, and it was like he was like Hogan's boogeyman, you know. But just I don't know. It just maybe even if some little thing within one of their rivalries in WCW was good, on the whole, it was fucking terrible.
Like what was that? It was like what was it? 96 Starrcade when they had their match,
Yes.
right? Like I enjoyed that, but everything after it was dumb. But I did enjoy 96 Piper Hogan in WCW. I liked that.
Anything on this, Mark? That the Hogan and Piper in WCW?
I'll be honest. I wasn't a fan, and during that time, I was skipping back and forth in between Nitro and Raw. Just
Nobody was.
Just a pastime through the commercials. Like,
Yeah.
To me, WCW tried to play off of the stars, the stars that they were made elsewhere, and it just Piper and Hogan in WCW was not compelling to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now Roddy Piper is accepting this award via satellite from Alcatraz. But anyway, that being said, Aaron, you're next.
Do you want? I got a deep cut, and then I got a deep cut. Deep cut.
Start with the deep cut.
Deep cut is the Great and Powerful Oz.
Kevin Nash as the Great and Powerful Oz.
And this is where I was talking about, like, you're not indicting the wrestler, you're indicting the gimmick. Because how can you be a wrestling promoter and look at this guy? And I'm going to preface this by saying that Kevin Nash is never said that he was, and has never been said to be the greatest fucking worker in the world. But you have a 6'9", 315-pound guy that looks like this, and your idea is, let's make him the Great and Powerful Oz.
And to quote Kevin Nash from the Who Killed WCW documentary, he said, "I told him I can't be Oz." Yeah, you're Oz. And he said Oz is a geographical location. I love how he used it. He was like, Oz is, I can be the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, if a guy looks at you and says he's a geographical location, he said geographical. This guy is smart.
No, Kevin Nash is brilliant. He's a very
He knows how to
smart man.
speak. Like how and then he looks at you and goes, "I'm gonna get out of the business. I don't want to do any of this." And you release him so he can go to the competition. Need to get where I'm getting at with this.
Yeah.
It's like how do you let this guy fucking leave?
Just like we were talking about last night on Reliving the Extreme. It's the opposite, and it was different people in charge. But how do you let Kevin Nash leave? How do you let Bret Hart come in as the hottest fucking commodity in pro wrestling and fuck all that up? Like they just fucking they tripped over that company tripped over its own feet so many times.
Yeah. But that fucking Oz gimmick was fucking terrible.
And Kevin Sullivan killed a monkey.
Yeah, he did kill a monkey. He strangled a monkey to death.
Because of that fucking Oz thing. A monkey died because of the Oz gimmick. Fucking WCW, everybody.
Gotta love it.
But my thing is, it's like just that gimmick as a whole. It's like Jim Herd thought, oh yeah, the great and powerful Oz, this is gonna get over. It was just fucking terrible. And if you watch the entrance, like the music plays and he rips his fucking rubber head off, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing? I'm not saying like what are we doing? I'm saying like as a company,
We're like, what are we watching?
Yeah, like what are we watching? This is fucking
Welcome to
terrible.
Oz. Welcome to
Welcome to
Oz.
Oz. Welcome to
Oz.
Watch me strangle this monkey.
Strangle the monkey.
It was just a fucking like that. Welcome to Oz and the Great and Powerful Oz is one of the worst fucking things I've ever seen in a wrestling promotion ever.
Mark, anything else on Oz? Oz is in. I want to say Oz is indicted by the spirit of the monkey.
The Wizard Harry. That's about all I can say. Like, good God, that shit was horrid.
Oz is inducted by what was that Cincinnati monkey? Hiambre?
Oh,
Harambe, yeah.
Harambe, yeah.
Yeah. That's who's indicting Oz.
You killed my little brother.
All right, Mark. Who's your next indictee?
Okay, so this is gonna be more of a comedy thing. The next indictees are being inducted
That's plural.
by RuPaul.
Work it, girl.
And the indictees are Pat Patterson versus Gerald Briscoe at King of the Ring 2000 in the hardcore evening gown match.
Oh, that's funny shit. That's funny shit, man.
Listen, normally they're funny, but that match killed the fucking hot crowd.
It did. It tore the crowd down, but it was funny shit.
But like when he goes to do the stink face and he pulls down his breeches and it reveals the sanitary towel and there's brown skid marks and red liquid in there, you know that was just some fucking twisted humor that Vince cooked up.
I know. I agree with that, but I like the build to it where Pat was like picking a dress and all that shit. That was funny shit. But I get what you're saying. The match itself was fucking stupid.
Yeah, the match itself was hot dumpster fire.
And it's so funny And that's the Attitude Era for you, though. You say to somebody, "Hey, you ever seen that match between Jerry Briscoe and Pat Patterson?" And you're like, "Wow, that sounds like a great match." And it's like, no, it wasn't in the 70s.
No, the one guy put his ass cheeks on the other guy's nose. That's good shit, pal.
That shit was horrible to me. I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
It also fucks up your mind when you think about Vince saying, "That's good shit, pal."
It literally.
Ugh.
It's good fake shit, pal.
He doesn't like fake shit. He likes real shit.
Real shit. White cotton panties.
I think I found a peanut, pal.
All right, Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe Gerald Briscoe in drag.
Rob
Welcome
Briscoe.
to the Hall of Shame. Kick you down in the dirt. The next indictee that I have for everyone, another one. I said I had a couple that I was like, I don't have any idea how these have not already hit the Hall of Shame. Again, this one's not the performer, but it's the gimmick and one particular segment. You got to indict the Shockmaster into the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Shame.
Best blooper ever.
Feeling who's
It is
fucking
the-
awesome.
Listen. Fucking Fred, as a person, great person.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
This shit is fucking it's synonymous with him. Like literally, they're putting Shockmaster into new card sets.
Good for him, though. Like, he's going to get some money from that.
Yeah,
Like, good for him, but at that time in like 93, like, why would you be like, "Hey, we got this big motherfucker, looks like a star. All right, let's put this bedazzled fucking helmet on him and throw him through a wall."
yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
It just can't. WCW, everybody. We keep saying it, but like, he just came off a run as a WWF Tag Team Champion. And, he's like you said, he's a big, impressive looking guy that can actually work. And yeah, the whole segment itself is a shit show. I'm sure everybody that listens to this show has seen it and laughed at it a million times. Shockmaster blowing through the wall, falling down, his bedazzled stormtrooper helmet falling off. Ole Anderson doing the voice, and then like Fred Ottman pantomiming his hands to make it look like he's talking.
Like,
And is it Flair when he falls? It like audibly goes, "Oh my god!"
And then Bulldog's like, he fell in his fucking arse.
my
His fucking arse.
my damn thing is it's a fucking stormtrooper helmet, and you're calling him the Shockmaster. I'll be honest, like I enjoyed more seeing him in the fucking hard hat.
Yeah,
And
because they had to fucking quickly rebound from that shit and do something to make it
Yeah, and
work.
he came out to that terrible rendition. I shouldn't say it was a terrible rendition, but it was kind of funny that they had him come out to like that terrible, like Jimmy Hart rendition of Day Tripper. That was
Yeah.
funny.
I mean, the irony of it to me is fucking hilarious because after that, they put him in the hard hat. So it's hard hat on, motherfucker.
And none of anything that was part of his gimmick led you to believe anything that would lead to the name Shockmaster. Like, there was nothing electric about it whatsoever.
Oh, it was shockingly hilarious.
But yeah, that was another one where I was like, how is this not a first ballot Hall of Shamer? I don't know how this hasn't been indicted yet, but like I said, not indicting the performer. Love Uncle Fred, but man, oh man, that was bad.
Certainly was.
Well, that would be you're next, Aaron.
All right. I have a deep cut. Like I said before, I had like a deep cut and a deep cut.
I have a
I have a
super
deep
deep cut for my last one.
I have two super deep cuts.
The
So I'll
tag
ask
team,
you
the Super
this.
Deeps.
Nope. I'll ask you this. Do you want my masked deep cut or do you want my African American deep cut?
Oh,
Let's start with the masked deep cut.
My masked deep cut is Tigor, Lord of the Volcano. Do either one of you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
This is a Memphis wrestling legend. And he was fucking horrible. He built his shit up for like 3 weeks, debuted, and was never seen again. I'm assuming that Mark Tanay is Googling Tigor. Are you Googling him, buddy?
Tigor, Master of the Volcano.
Sure. He's Lord of the Volcano.
Oh,
But it is one of the worst fucking gimmicks that ever existed. And he, like I said, Nate, I think he did like 3 weeks of promos and lasted 1 week in the ring, and it was just trash.
what?
He looked like, if
Hold
I
on.
remember, if I
That
remember
looks like the
correctly.
retarded Iron Giant.
No, I was about to say if I was about to say if I remembered correctly, because I've watched. That's why I knew him, because I'm a person that watches lots of Memphis stuff, and if I remembered correctly, to me he resembled like a character from like a Japanese Godzilla movie, like that kind of a.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just a horrible fucking gimmick, and I don't know why anybody would think it would work. And
That was
like,
Memphis for you, though. Christmas creature.
He stood in front of he stood in front of that fucking green screen with a little mountain behind him and all that shit. He was a fucking joke. And I don't know who was behind the mask, but I feel bad for the guy because his fucking career got ruined.
I'll put it like this. What's funny, even more funny, is when you search for him, the first thing that comes up is Wrestle Crap.
Obviously.
Yeah, it was just bad.
And actually, I went to the. It's funny that you say that, Mark, because while we were talking there, I went to the Wrestle Crap website because I knew it would be there. And R.D. Reynolds, in his article about Tagar, says, sadly, no one seems to remember who actually portrayed this particular gimmick. I've asked around, and it's a no-go. Even Tony Myers, who wrestled for years in the Memphis area and knows who everyone is, doesn't remember. So nobody, and I bet the guy that did it doesn't want to fess up to it. Wasn't me.
It was Akon.
I notice you noticing me.
Noticing me.
Welcome to the Hall of Shame, Tiger.
Okay. I learned something new tonight. It's always a pleasure.
Mark,
My next inductees are going to be inducted by Juan Valdez.
He's 100% Colombian coffee.
And it is the Mexicals.
Kyle Army doesn't think that ever happened.
Oh, that happened.
No, he doesn't think. He doesn't know.
That's a weekend
Ubuntu.
wrestle deep cut.
He doesn't know Ubuntu wrestles for WWE.
Yeah,
That's
we
his
had an
problem.
episode way back in the early episodes, Mark, where we were talking about people that never wrestled for the WWE that should have. And Kyle was like, Juventud Guerrera. We were both like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yes, go ahead, Mark. Your reasons for the Mexicools to be in the Hall of Shame, other than the obviously
Bro.
racist.
Listen, I know they used to do some pretty raunchy stuff, but that definitely was blatantly fucking racist, and to have them come out on the fucking
riding
lawnmowers too. Oh my god, bro, that was listen. Some people might have thought that was funny, but you definitely know the type of people that thought that was funny. Like
the Mexicools,
each wrestler
was
individually,
fantastic.
yeah.
What was it? It was Psychosis, Uvi, and
Super crazy.
Super crazy.
Everybody
I'm not a huge like Uvi in the ring fan. I'm an Uvi as a character fan, but I really like Psychosis, and obviously I really love Super Crazy. But that gimmick was fucking racist.
Yeah, that was like, I can't believe they got them to agree to that.
Well, yeah, payday.
They had to pay them extremely well for that.
Yeah, and like Aaron said, I mean, the performers involved, all great performers. Psychosis, obviously, Hoovy, obviously, and then everybody that knows me knows that low key one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Super Crazy. It's funny because at wrestling conventions, I've got to meet fucking Bob Backlund. I've got to meet Arn Anderson. I've got to meet Barry Windham. I've got to meet Kevin Nash. I've gotten to meet Jim Cornette. I've gotten to meet all these people. One of my favorite meet and greets that I ever get, guy that I ever got to meet was Super Crazy. It was awesome to meet him in person because I really am a huge fan. But yeah, definitely one of the most racist gimmicks in modern wrestling history.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So
like, that's on the level of Corwin White, which I'm surprised is also not in there.
Shelton Benjamin.
I liked Corwin White. I thought that was a good gimmick.
And that was the only gimmick in wrestling that was ever racist against white people.
And I don't want to get too much into the Corwin White thing. That would be a fun topic for the... Do we have a topic for the next show?
Yeah, you and I are going to do that draft on the next show.
Okay. Well, I got an idea for the next show after the draft show. I'll let you guys know about it. But
all right, so my last indictee is actually more of like a fun one because it's a deep cut. Because there are probably only, I don't know, maybe 5% of wrestling fans that even remember this thing because it was something that happened and then it was not anymore happening. And it was something that I only knew of because of the magazines. But I have to indict it. Do either one of you two gentlemen remember Chicken Neck?
Yeah.
No.
Mark?
He weighed in at like what, $100?
$1.99 a pound.
$1.99 a pound. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Shad can tell you about it. Shad can tell you about it too. That was
There
his
was
I
a-
should probably
debut.
tell you every shitty gimmick from here to the 1970s.
Yes, there was a wrestler for like 6 months that was on the radar in the magazines named Chicken Neck. There's a guy that dressed like a chicken, and he was like
He was a
it-
$1.99 a pound.
he weighed in at $1.99 a pound. I think they worked in like the secret recipe somewhere in there. I don't know, but it was an entire chicken gimmick, and it may not necessarily be. It's funny, but I have to induct it into the Hall of Shame just to get it on the show somehow. Chicken Neck.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember Chicken Neck. He came in the way I remember finding Chicken Neck was I think he was 500 in the PWI.
Okay, maybe, yeah. I'd have to go through my magazines and see, but you might be right. That might be
If he wasn't 500, he was in the low.
obviously.
So does Mark have one more? Mark, do you have one more?
I'm trying to think which one I want to use.
Because I only have one more, so that's why I was asking.
Let me
Well,
scroll.
Aaron, you go ahead and go next.
Okay.
Or is it one of
Um,
those ones that I'm not going to be able to follow?
Well, no, that's why I'm asking. If Mark, you want to go first, you can.
Yeah, go ahead and go.
All right. My last guy is he's like my main event. And this human being stood at 5'11", and at his top weight weighed 548 pounds. And his birth name is Mike Staples. Do you guys know who this is?
Uh-uh.
Don't Google it.
You said don't Google it?
Don't Google it.
Mike Staples.
Don't Google it. I hear you typing. Don't type. He's 5'11", 548 pounds. Mike
5'11".
Staples.
It's not Valpuccio, is it?
Now, his in-ring name was Cheeks.
Ah, Cheeks. Yeah, all right.
Cheeks. Do you guys remember Cheeks?
TNA, early TNA.
He's not early TNA. He is the beginning of TNA. This fat fuck broke the fucking ring in the debut of TNA. Like, they brought this fat fuck out in a dark match and broke the ring. And then had one more match on television, and then you never saw him again. Because even Jeff Jarrett and Vince Russo were like, nope.
Bro, this guy's a liability. He's breaking the ring. He's breaking the ring. He's got the diabetes.
He said, bro, this guy's a liability. But I'm indicting Cheeks into the Hall of Shame.
Not the Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Shame.
We can do the Hall of Fame until the day I die, and Cheeks will never get in it. But in the Hall
I
of
know,
Shame,
I misspoke. I know, but you said, bro, he's a liability.
that might have to be the name of the episode, I guess.
Yeah, that was funny to me. But yeah, I'm indicting Cheeks, Mike Staples, 5'11". That was his max height,
And
5'11", and
he eventually had the surgery where they stapled his stomach, probably.
yeah, that's where he got staples
Mike
from.
Staples.
Yeah, I got it. But yeah, Cheeks is, imagine a 5'11" guy, and he's 548 pounds.
Well, and that's why I thought about Valpuccio, because I thought about, like, a guy that looks like a sofa. He's short and wide,
Yeah. That's my
Well,
person. That's my last inductee.
Cheeks are clapping right into the Hall of Shame.
Your clap.
Okay.
Cheeks is twerking.
So
And obviously out of breath. All right, Mark.
my last inductee is every time they try to do some kind of gimmick like this, it's always over the top and it's fucking stupid. Lasertron.
Hector Guerrero as Lasertron.
Yeah. It's modeled after a fucking laser tag game, bro. Like, why is that a wrestling gimmick?
It's one of those things where it's just like the whole Oz thing. Like, you have Kevin Nash and you just can't present him as Kevin Nash. You have Hector Guerrero and you throw a hood on him at the stupid gimmick Lasertron.
Like, how do you not realize that Hector Guerrero is probably, I know you guys probably want to shut up and like close the show, but it's like you said, Nate, or how I said even before with Nash. It's like Hector Guerrero is probably the best fucking worker you got on your fucking roster. You're gonna make him a fucking Lasertron? What are you fucking doing?
Yeah, like,
just let him be Hector Guerrero.
Yeah, like, why did he need to be Lasertron? Like, I understand, during the times there, that whole laser tag shit was a fad, but holy fuck, dude, really?
Yeah, and also at that time in that promotion, that gimmick did not fit in at all. Like, it stuck out like a sore, diseased thumb.
Right.
It was like, and you guys can tell me if I'm off base with this, but it's almost like making Owen the Blue Blazer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? It's like
or making Paul
watch
Diamond
Hector-
Max Moon.
Yeah, watch this guy fucking bounce off the ropes and do shit that you've never fucking seen before.
Right. Like, because literally,
Like Hector was stupid fucking talented.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is it. That is the. Oh, sorry, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, like, it was like what we were talking about with indicting the gimmick and not the guy.
Obviously,
Like,
yeah.
Lasertron was stupid.
like, Hall of Fame worthy ring work, Hector Guerrero. Lasertron can get fucked.
Yeah.
It's like putting Brad Armstrong as Arachnaman,
Yeah.
Stupid.
Or Mike Awesome as that 70s guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid shit. So, yeah.
Well, that is it. The 2024 class of the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Shame. Good job, guys. Another great year for the Hall of Shame. Now, our next episode is going to be a draft. And I told Aaron to pick a year, and he did. And it's 1992. And this is going to be a two-man kind of thing because we can only pick two rosters. Now, Mark, Archie, anybody else that wants to join us for the show and maybe comment on our choices or whatever, you guys are more than welcome. But just to lay this out here, and Aaron, I'm still being a little biatch and finalizing the whole thing. as far as the
You're gonna have
talent
to
goes.
message me the rules.
Oh no, and I'm gonna kind of tell the listeners now. So we're looking at 1992.
Well, I know you're telling people, but you need to message them. So I remember.
Yes, 1992. And what I'm going to do is Aaron and I are going to draft rosters, and the way it's going to work is I'm going to pick. I'm picking 25 WWF stars at the time, 25 WCW stars at the time. I'm just going to pick a month, like a random month, because people move back and forth. It doesn't matter because it's fucking the year that we're talking about. 25, and then I'm also going to pick 10 wrestlers at the time that are either international or independent. So like GWF or Japan or something. So we're going to have 60 total. 60 total. Tag teams are going to be together. Because I hate the tag team thing always complicates things. So I'm just going to leave tag teams together. So Hawk and Animal will just be together as a tag team. Okay. So you might wind up with more people on your roster if you draft right. Anyway, 25 from WWF, 25 from WCW, and 10 from international/independents. We are both going to draft 25. And then the next week, we have to make our first card with our 25. So there's going to be 10. There's going to be 10 people that don't get drafted. We may have some provisions. I may add something later on. And I'm going to let you go first. And the first pick will have the first round will have 2 picks. Every other round will have 1 pick.
Sounds interesting.
So, like I said, Mark, if you want to join us for it and comment on our choices or whatever, you're more than happy to have you, be a part of it. But
I'm sure Aaron's gonna have some what the fuck moments, so I don't want to miss that.
Well, message me those rules and the people.
I will message you the rules, and I will
allowed.
message you the wrestlers, and we will do that next week or whenever we record our next episode. But Aaron, Mark, any final words for our listeners this week?
Just keep listening to the WrestleNet Radio podcast network, and if you're into trading cards, come see me on Whatnot on all sports breaks. I've been doing some big things behind the scenes as far as photo edits and stuff like that. Recently worked with Valentina Feroz from NXT. Recently did a card for the Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen. If something is your passion, don't never stop doing it.
Absolutely. Yes. Aaron?
I don't have anything to say.
All right. Well,
share the show and rate and review it. And if you know Firebreaker Chip, help him up the stairs.
LV to Zane, everybody. We'll see you next week here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Have a fantastic week. Stay cool, stay hydrated with the heat wave going on, and we'll see you next time around.
Stay flossy.
Stay
Yeet.
Oh, God. Yeet, cheeks. Yeet.
Oh, the guys that collect the Jey Uso spot in wrestling. I was like, you do realize the only people that used to say that are people with squatted trucks and date their sisters.
Oh, what a liability. We'll see you next week, everybody.